Ugh, my sense.
You didn't just fly out of the mall?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, then you learned nothing this weekend.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And welcome to the magical world of Shazam!
That's right, Shazam. We are still 2 weeks away from the official release, but if you're lucky enough and you live in a larger market like I do, or if you're visiting a larger market like Chris did this weekend, you have a chance to see it 2 weeks early. So this is a little new opportunity for us, kind of similar to how we did Spider-Verse. So we'll kick off the show with spoiler-free reviews, of course. And then, I don't know, maybe save this in your back pocket for 2 more weeks and come back for the spoilers. Or, I don't know, maybe for some reason you're just not in the Shazam or you just don't care and you want to listen to the spoilers. Do what you want to do. But we'll throw up the flags and we'll warn you before we say any spoilers.
I will tell you right now, Mike, this is my second Shazam spoiler cast this week review episode.
Yeah, preface that a little bit.
And the other one is full of spoilers, but I didn't realize it. Well, we didn't say anything, but I'm like, oh, there are spoilers here. Because it is not anywhere as organized as we are. We were just sitting around a table in an Airbnb, like a little coffee table with a microphone on it, recording. And so I had a really good opportunity. I was at C2E2 this weekend in Chicago. I was able to get my friend Brian, Adam, Greg, Adam's girlfriend Kate, and my buddy from college, Roberto, and we all went and saw this movie together. And we all came back and we all decided to talk about it. Everyone wanted to do a podcast episode on it and talk about Shazam. And that a lot of people were not, ready to do that, and that's okay because it was fun to have some fresh perspectives on these movies, like from an outsider point of view.
It was a punk guerrilla podcasting. As I told you last night when you're getting ready to whip it all up. I still don't know your opinion on this movie, and I don't know the opinions of the people that you sat around with because I haven't had a chance to listen to it. But it's in the feed if you're subscribed. You can go check it out now or in 2 weeks, however you want to do it. But I can imagine it was incredibly fun just because you're at one of the biggest Comic-Cons in the world, most definitely in the middle of the country, and then after spending all day at a Comic-Con, you get to go see a brand new superhero AAA movie, and then you all go back to your Airbnb and chat about it. I can't imagine the electricity in the air was really palpable. So I think I'm gonna have to give that a listen just to imagine being there. It sounds fun.
You are name dropped several times in it, Mike. I will tell you that right now.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I don't know if you're gonna say that after you listen. But no, I'm kidding. But no, it's fun. The event itself was fun, and once I wouldn't say once in a lifetime, but that's a rare occasion when something this cool happens and it all falls on the same date as everything else. So
and especially organizing 5 different friends. I mean, once you kind of exit your college years and you're just kind of out there in the real world, it is incredibly difficult to get more than 2 people organized to do anything. So, but we'll talk way more about Chicago Comic-Con in our normal news episode. So make sure you're subscribed. We'll talk all about that. But Chris, it's been a bit. I want to know. I haven't talked to you in a while. You've been gone all weekend. What did you think about Shazam spoiler free?
Since you're hearing this for the first time, other people may not be. I have to say, spoiler free, Shazam is a fun movie, Mike. This is a very fun movie in DC's universe. We are starting to see a trend upwards in terms of tone for this. As you know, everyone who talked to me before, I was very on the fence for this film. The trailers had not sold me. We had not seen a lot of stuff, which we'll talk about later. Honestly, I like being surprised going in, but I think the energy of the characters and just kind of how much fun they were having. Because, from the trailers, it's about a kid learning to essentially have the powers of Superman and more. Was really kind of infectious throughout that. And there are some very funny moments which resonated with me. However, on the whole, I think we'll talk about it a little bit. It's easy to this movie doesn't hold up under a microscope or a magnifying glass, but that's okay. Not every movie is perfect and doesn't need to. But on the surface, this was really fun, and I can't fault it for that. But I know there are problems with it, which I think are actually going to be fun to pick apart a little more than the others. Mike, what about yourself? How did you feel seeing Shazam on the other side of the country?
Yeah, I mean, surprisingly, I had a really good time in this movie. DC has done something that they haven't done in a really long time, which is make 2 good movies in a row. Mm-hmm. I told that to my wife when we were driving home. She's like, wait, what's the other one? I was like, oh, Aquaman. She's like, oh, I forgot about that movie already. So this is great. This is a good trend for them. And I would almost echo all the sentiments you have there. It just goes to show you that why we make a podcast together, because we resonate on these same wavelengths. Yeah, it was just a ton of fun. I had this fun opportunity to where the row in front of us was like 3 boys, probably maybe around 10 years old, and I can't imagine how much they love this movie. I mean, it's just basically a dream scenario for any kid watching this film. Just to say, one magic word and you turn into a superhero. So I felt like I was trying to enjoy the movie through their eyes. Like every time like a scene would change and like new funky music would like come on, they would start like all like weaving back and forth. I was like, man, this is great. It kind of felt like I wasn't really watching so much a PG-13 superhero movie, even if it was kind of in the light-hearted tone. It kind of felt like I was watching almost like a live-action, like kind of Incredibles kind of type deal, that kind of along that tone. So I was like, this is really fun. It was a little slow to begin with. I think personally myself, I'm getting kind of tired of watching the superhero origin movie. Mm-hmm. Even if you have kind of these unique twists on it, like I just feel like they all kind of hit the same beats. And even though we kind of have a unique scenario here for how Shazam comes to be, it helps lift the first and second act a little bit more than usual. But I'm just kind of like, I'm looking forward to the second film more than rewatching this one. So, the third act, things really get going. And just when I think the movie's about to end, it keeps going and it actually starts to get even better and better. So it's definitely worth, just sitting in your seat, kind of watching, Shazam start to get his feet kind of rolling like Wile E. Coyote when he runs in place and then he finally takes off. So, yeah, it was a fun movie. Even though there wasn't historically a lot of trailers for this film, I kind of wish I didn't watch the trailers. I felt like it kind of gave away some really funny jokes, but my audience was losing it. They were going crazy. They were loving the jokes. Now I was just kind of like smirking because I was like, well, I've kind of seen this in the trailer like 4 or 5 times. So, there's still plenty that they left out of the trailer, and we'll talk about that in spoilers. But yeah, it was a really fun time. I really loved Zachary Levi. I can't wait to see this character more. Like, I don't really know exactly what's going to happen with this DC universe moving forward, this worlds of DC, but by the end of the movie, you just want to see Zachary Levi pal around with, like, Batman and Superman and, like, go to prom with Wonder Woman. I want to see that kind of silly stuff, and I'm hoping it can get there, because things are a little rough. We don't even really know who's going to be Batman, what's going to be the future of Superman. Well, so when I watch these movies, I always kind of think broader, because that's what you do when you're playing with your action figures or you're reading your comic books. You think of where it could go. But yeah, I had a great fun time. My wife loved it. The audience was really energetic. This is honestly very easy to recommend.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think, this is also, just kind of in opposite of your last point there. We are in an era where Marvel started with their B-list characters. Nobody knew who Iron Man was or cared about Thor or Captain America when they came out, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now we're seeing a trend of Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman kind of leading the pack here in terms of films, where Batman and Superman, maybe they need to sit on a bench for a while and let these new people handle it for a little bit and let new stories and new characters kind of take some light while we refresh from some of those old characters. And I think Shazam's a perfect example of one of those, like, I didn't know anything about him going in, or I barely did, and this being like that first kind of, I think it'll be the first interaction for a lot of people, probably most of the audience. I think they will come to find it enjoyable and something they can definitely relate to and want to probably, like you said, see more of in the future. So
anybody out there who has kids, or maybe if you're young yourself listening to this, like this is going to be like the type of movie when you're like in your 30s and like you're thinking about the movies you grew up with. They're going to be like, oh man, Shazam was like so crazy, so cool, because it just kind of speaks to you. I definitely have movies like that I grew up with. So this is really cool. Great job, everybody involved. But I want to jump in the spoilers. This might just be for the benefit of us until the 2 more weeks when people get to go check it out. But let's talk about this.
Yeah, so this is a spoiler mark, just letting everyone know. So if you haven't seen it or won't see it for another 2 weeks, don't listen here now. But as for spoilers, I've got to say there were nothing that surprised me. I will tell you that right now, Mike.
Oh, I can tell you I was very surprised because I wanted to... I'm sure we're both talking about the same moment right now.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about the character of Shazam. I've seen him pal around in some of the animated Justice League stuff. Every once in a while, he pops up in like an animated DC movie. But, I haven't really dove deep into any comics that connected with him. I had no idea he had a gang of a Shazamily, if you will, and my wife coined that term as on the drive home, so I'll give her credit for Shazamily. I had no idea that was going to happen. I didn't know that was a thing. So, but when it happened, I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm so adept to how these movies are kind of built. I knew what I was seeing was something that existed. So I knew there was people in the audience at that moment that was kind of like, holy shit, it's them. It's the people that we knew were going to show up. So I was shocked because I had no idea it was going to happen. And I thought the movie, just before they transformed, I thought the movie was going to end there. I thought Shazam was going to do some like trickery, grab that eyeball, but no, all of a sudden they all turn into heroes. I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like this movie just hit 11. I'm in for the ride.
So the only thing they've shown from the trailer so far has been essentially Zachary Levi doing his montage of how to deal with getting powers. Mm-hmm. They do not set up the film's second half at all, which deals with the jump scares. There's actually like several intense, scary moments with the 7 deadly sins. I will give them that.
Oh, those things looked amazing. I don't know if they jumped into like the practical effects at all when it came to that conference boardroom scene, but like I just loved that the way they looked. They kind of reminded me of the monster in, what was it, the first Ghostbusters movie? That thing that ran
the second one, Zool, Gatekeeper.
Yeah, I just love the way that they looked, and they looked really scary, especially for like a movie, that's PG-13. I was like, man, these things could draw blood for sure.
I do take offense with that they're just gray, generic looking, because you couldn't tell which one represented which sin without really staring them down.
That is true. I mean, only like really Gluttony really stood out, and then the one with the wings. All the other ones were kind of...
Yeah, one's a gargoyle. One had a stomach that looked like from the Diablo game, is what I said, and the other ones all kind of looked like you're like. I
think they were all kind of gargoyles.
They were very scary, but like and they looked real, and like you said, they had that weird animation effect that kind of looked stop motion-y, but not really. Mm-hmm. And they were intense, but I wish they would have been a little more colorful, like the Shazam, the Marvel family. They're actually called the Marvel family because.
Oh, is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's more of a recent comic book edition. And I pointed this out yesterday. Adam Brody plays Freddy, the adult version of Freddy. Did you know that was Adam Brody from?
Well, so I was staring at him, and like when there was when we were waiting, when the credits were rolling, when we were waiting for the scenes, I asked my wife, I was like, Freddy, when he turned into an adult, who was that guy? He looks so familiar. I swear I've seen him in like 1,000 things.
Yeah. So it was Adam Brody, who actually was signed up to be the Flash in the scrapped early 2000s Justice League Mortal film.
I think that was good casting. It kind of looked like an older Freddy. I just had no idea there was like a family. So, I mean, I guess it's my ignorance is bliss, because it's been a while since I've actually been really surprised in a one of these comic book movies. So I guess it kind of pays off to just kind of be ignorant and not do all of your research before you go into a film.
Yeah, and they had all the toys of those characters come out was the problem for me. Like they had pop vinyls of literally, that's the only thing was the Shazam family were the pop vinyls. And I was like, hey, that's what it is. Now,
man, you were robbed of the magical moment then.
It's fine. Because I think this movie, to me, again, I had a really fun time. It's really awesome. But like when you hold up that magnifying glass this thing falls apart so fast, and I don't want to do that to it, because like I'm still like, okay, this is enjoyable. I like, my wife didn't go, so maybe I can convince her to go when it comes out. But like, look, you teach fifth graders, 10-year-olds, they're gonna be wanting to see this. They're gonna be talking about this. You need to watch this and feel relevant with them.
Yeah. I liked how they started the film with the villain. I thought his storyline actually tracked. I mean, that this original Shazam wizard...
I disagree completely, but continue. I just want to put that out there.
Okay. I thought first of all, I don't know if it was intentional, but I thought the original old man Shazam wizard was like kind of a dick. So if he was just kind of going around just plucking like kids out of like cars and throwing them into a cave and then tossing them aside, telling them that they're never going to be good, I was like, I get this. This makes sense as an origin story. And I thought it was kind of clever how when he was an adult, he was like kind of analytically trying to find his way back there, with the symbols. And it made sense that since this wizard was so desperate that he would just kind of be throwing the signal out everywhere and he would get messy and not cover his tracks. So usually my biggest pet peeves in these type of movies is like, does the motivation make sense? Is any of this tracking? So at least all of that kind of tracked along the lines of like, okay, I can kind of see how he's deriving becoming a villain. The only thing I didn't enjoy is he's pretty consistently dark through the film, but then at the end of the film, they kind of are portraying him in kind of these like goofy comedic tones. Like, even though it was a funny scene where they were both flying and they were far apart and they couldn't hear each other, and he was just doing his like supervillain monologue. Like, I thought it was funny, but I was just like, oh, this is like the first time we've seen him as just kind of like this goofy kind of wacky cartoon character. So
well, he wasn't kind of goofy. The situation was goofy.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, maybe if the tone was a little bit more consistent there, but yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of a pet peeve. Well, I wouldn't really dock it too much for that.
So, well, this kid is the stupidest thing ever. I cannot be on the opposite end of you from this one, because this kid, like, he's like, it's like the family is the O'Doyle family from Billy Madison, because they're like, the dad's like, oh, you're not a man, you're playing with the magic 8-ball, and Bill's like, yeah, you're not a man, you idiot, and like that's all. And then the next time you see them, they're like, oh, you're still not a man. And he's like, he's running his own company doing scientific stuff, like he's obviously doing fine, like. But like that's all all you see, the dad and brother, his whole family was like, you're not a man, you're not really a man, but well, yeah, he's the demon, so take my money.
Yeah. And I'm like, actually, I can echo those tones across the film in two other points, so I can agree with you actually in a backdoor way. So all of like the antagonists in the film, I don't think they were fleshed out well enough, almost to a point where it feels like scenes were like left out on the cutting room floor. So like his family, like you said, they were just kind of generically bad with no reasoning. And, I kind of just looked it over because the movie was getting started. And they got their just desserts by these really cool monsters. So I was probably just blinded by the super cool gargoyles that I was falling in love with. But the mom that just kind of abandoned her child as a 17-year-old. First of all, in the flashback, I never believed for a second she was 17. So I assumed Warner Brothers used all of their de-aging money on Willem Dafoe and Aquaman, because she did not look anywhere close to 17. So when she said it later in the movie, I was like, wait a minute, what? And
well,
I just
think
can't
she was
imagine...
17 when she got pregnant. It was the motive. She wasn't pregnant. She wasn't 17 when he was like 5.
Either way, she did not look the age. She looked almost like she was in her 30s, like she was supposed to have a kid. And then also, I couldn't believe, even though she reverted to her maiden name, that she could just drop off the radar. Like, you can't just like abandon your kid. They're gonna someone's gonna hunt you down. Like, you have a social security number, you have a job. So I didn't really believe that. I wish they could have fleshed that out better. And then one thing that bugged me the most was the two bullies that picked on Freddy. Like, they had no reasoning to just pick on a crippled orphan kid, a foster kid. It's like... it's these such old ideas of what kids are like. Like, I was bullied when I was a kid, 100% for sure, but it wasn't like as overt as they're making it out in this movie. Yeah. Usually there's like some sort of reasoning to it. Like, they never showed us like if the bullies were just like inherently just like bad at heart or something like that. They were just evil. Maybe they were being seduced by powers, or I was expecting them to maybe be picking on Freddy because he's kind of like a smarmy like jackass. Like, maybe he got got back at the bullies like before the movie started with like a prank, and then maybe they're pranking them back, but they went overboard and it wasn't justified. So I felt like I needed a little something there, because I mean, they hit a crippled kid with their car. I was like, you can't just overtly just have like bad guys doing bad guy things without any explanation, which is why if you go back to the supervillain, at least his reasoning made sense. His like family was a dick and that wasn't explained, but I could see why that would end up making him. So those were kind of my 3 pet peeves of just like, if you're going to have these antagonists in the film, flush them out a little bit more, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't even think antagonists, I think protagonists. I didn't think his family earned any of their powers either. We didn't see them enough to eat. Like the one kid, I want to say it was Pedro, like said 5 words throughout the whole thing. And he had we talked about this, yeah. He had a failed math test and he threw it in the trash can, and then they didn't come back to it.
Yeah, that's another thing where I felt like things were left on the cutting room floor, because that seems like a weird thing to just put in the film. I was like, okay, that's going to come back at like some point, right? Yeah. But it doesn't.
Like Billy's going to teach him to do math, and they're going to bond or something really goofy. The sister Mary got a college thing. They never resolved if she's going off to college or not by the end of the film. The wizard fireflies I talked about as well. Where did they go? Did they actually find anybody, or was that just a visual effect they didn't want to use later on? Because he let all those fireflies out to go seek down the people, and they didn't show up. Like, the people just appeared. There was a little yellow firefly that he released a bunch into the world. I don't think any of the family Freddy was the only one I think who earned his powers. But the rest of them, I'm like, I don't know who you are or care if you got your power. Like, how's this affecting your life, like, on the whole? How do we know you're not going to go completely evil? So, like, this movie is... I would have saved the Shazamly, I will use Andy's word here, for the sequel. Let Billy earn it first, because...
No, disagree, because this movie needed it. I don't think I would have liked this movie nearly as much if they weren't in it. So I like that they just went balls to the wall and threw it in there, because I think it just would have been really fallen to the line of just generic origin movie if they weren't in it. So
how did he know he could give people the power?
Because he knew if you hold the staff and you say his name, people get the power. So I guess it was kind of like a last-ditch effort. It was kind of a Hail Mary, so that didn't bug me too much. But maybe you'll be able to answer my question since you know this family a little bit more. It seems like power set-wise, they all seem to have some sort of general, like, strength ability. Well, like, it seems like Billy has all the powers, and all of the other people just have one of the powers with just a little bit of super strength, because you just kind of need that to be a hero, you know?
No. The way it works, Shazam is 6 letters representing 6 different deities, and they all have those abilities. Like
so even the little sister that was super fast, she wasn't just super fast.
She ran past and punched somebody really far. Remember, she ran past and punched them, and they went flying.
Well, yeah, my theory was that they all have a base strength above human, and then they're imbued with just one power. So she's just super fast and strength.
No, they all have all the powers. They just didn't have enough time to learn them or flesh them out. Because it took half the movie for Billy to learn all his powers, and he still doesn't know all of them that he has.
Yeah, it did feel a little kind of Doctor Strange-esque towards the end of the movie, where it's like he still had all the powers, but he still wasn't kind of the Sorcerer Supreme. So that's what makes me look forward to a sequel, to maybe he'll be more fleshed out, and maybe we'll actually get to see him like fight or at least pal around with like Superman or another hero or something like that. Very strategic to not show the face of Superman at the end of the movie, because you don't know who it's going to be.
Look, I want to go ahead and fault this movie for its second post-credit scene being
the fish one,
being a scene from earlier in the movie that they actually showed in the trailer of him trying to be Aquaman, and I'm like, this isn't a post-credit scene.
I don't think I recall seeing that in the trailers. Okay.
When Aquaman, I think, came out on physical or digital, this came with it to show Aquaman. So I'm like, this is a reused footage that was cut from the floor, put at the end of the movie.
This is below Chris's standards, damn it.
You can do better than this. What about is it Mind Master? Is that what it was?
What is that the villain's name? Or are you thinking of the caterpillar thing?
Yes.
I had no idea what that thing was.
Mr. Mind.
I thought it was funny when it came back. even though this movie is like fun and lighthearted and it's just like kids like trying to buy beer and he thinks of a place and they go to a strip club, which I thought was actually pretty funny. That was a solid joke. It still didn't quite reach the level of talking caterpillar. So maybe they're gonna kind of slightly permanently move the tone to where that makes sense. Like if theoretically that talking caterpillar was on the villain's shoulder through the whole movie, I don't think it would have fit tonally. So hopefully they can find a way to where that makes sense. But
so here's the problem. You have a family of superheroes now. You have to create a bunch of villains for them to fight. Mm-hmm. And Mr. Mind has the Monster Society of Evil. So I think that's where this is going to go with the next one.
I think
Mr. Talking Caterpillar and his Monster Society. Now, I want to kind of point this before we get off this. Can I say... Ahead. Did that room full of doors not feel like Monsters, Inc. to you?
No, totally. Like if I wanted to be a rude moviegoer, I would lean over to my wife and just start talking to her and be like, "Yeah, this reminds you of Monsters, Inc. too, right?" Yeah. But I didn't want to break the moment and keep annoying my seat neighbor.
And you mentioned it was kind of like The Incredibles in terms of tone and the superhero vibe.
Hey, is this the first live action Pixar movie?
There was a third one we talked about yesterday too. I'm like, this is essentially like a Disney Pixar stuff all come to life. Because the doors made no sense to me. I still don't know where the doors came from.
Yeah, but also like the alligators on the inside of the door, that happens in Monsters Inc. They open up one of the doors and it's the
swamp
it's the swamp within the alligators that live in the RV. So I thought that was hilarious, and it was just weird. Like so. I feel like they should go in that tone. It kind of that Thor Ragnarok tone where they're just monsters and it's weirdness and it's goofy. Like head for there. That's your safe haven. And once you kind of hit there, it's much easier to look over kind of these things. You don't really feel like getting the microscope out, even though you said you don't really need the microscope. It's a fun time.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. When you go for a lighter tone, which is kind of where the DC movies have been going, it's so much easier to forgive things.
Yeah.
So, but like when you drown it in darkness, like the Justice League or Batman versus Superman, it's so much harder to forgive things because they're trying to treat the audience like adults, so adults are going to treat you like a fine piece of art. So,
can we talk about how much of a dick Freddy was? He was like, "Oh, don't shoot him in the face! Like, keep shooting my friend here. We're trying to figure out what powers he has." He lit a box on fire to see if he was fireproof. Like, that kid is messed up the way he was doing this.
I thought that was pretty funny.
It was funny, but like in real, like oh Jesus, I'd have him checked out for a little bit. I mean, Jesus, that was brutal.
Yeah, I did enjoy that he finally got to turn into a hero because I felt for the kid when Billy was just like, "You're just jealous because you don't have these powers," and he was just like, "Yeah, exactly." Like every kid wants these powers, especially him who's been crippled, and all he wants to do is just be a normal kid. He would just be happy to just be normal. So to go extra above and have these powers would be like far beyond a dream come true. So once he finally got that, I was like, "Hell yeah, good for you. You don't have to just like waddle around on that crutch all the time. You can actually be a hero." So but yeah, the rest of the family, I'm looking forward to them possibly like earning their powers in a sequel. And I like the idea that we just get to pal around with a bunch of superpowered people in the next movie.
Yeah, I mean I am excited for a sequel. I hope it stays light in tone and goofy because I will forgive a lot of this stuff because it is in fact an enjoyable time. But like I said, I disagree. In 20 years, we'll be looking at that movie was dumb as hell, is what we'll be saying about this movie. And it did not make any sense. But in the moment, although we didn't get a Black Adam direct reference, I think he was referenced in the hero who used his power for revenge.
Oh, wow. I totally forgot about Black Adam watching this movie. I didn't even think to look for any sort of cameo.
How do you put him into this movie series now, where this is going in this weird place?
I guess The Rock can just kind of show up if he is still going to be Black Adam whenever that happens. He's got all that charisma. He can kind of be weird.
So now it's a Moana film because it's got The Rock.
Well, speaking of The Rock, this makes me think of Jumanji. So my wife didn't agree with me on this point, so I'm sure it's different. So Jumanji had this thing where kids are personified with adults. And when I saw that movie, I thought, The Rock, tried to act like his young character in the film, and it kind of worked. Kevin Hart didn't act like himself at all. He just acted like Kevin Hart in the film. And in this one, I was like, okay, I totally feel like Zachary Levi is trying to act like a 14-year-old. I think he's nailing acting like a 14-year-old, but I don't think he nailed acting like Billy was, like Billy's character. Like Billy's character wasn't like so zany and crazy and just like whoa, what's going on, whoa. Like he was kind of like depressed through most of the film, and even though he would have superpowers and it would kind of change his emotions, I didn't really feel like Zachary Levi was hitting that character. But it didn't bother me too much because I just liked Shazam, just walking around like doing goofy stuff, like shooting his lightning bolts to Eye of the Tiger, which I just thought was like silly, and I was enjoying that, mainly because no one ever pays for the rights for Eye of the Tiger, so it's always interesting to see it in a movie because, like, oh, I'm sure you paid a lot of money just to put that in there.
After mentioning Rocky directly earlier in the same spot.
Yeah, so that was a little, but I can let that go. But the other one was, so I really like Shazam's suit. I like the lightning bolt. I thought it all came together, and I thought it looked cool. Even though, like, there's muscle padding under that suit, right? There's no way Zachary Levi. So, like, that was, I got over it after a little while. But I thought the iconography of the lightning bolt did not work on the old wizard. It just kind of looked like a homeless person, like, put on somebody's cosplay. Like, I felt like they could have gone for more of like an ancient, more of a rugged lightning bolt to show that this guy's an ancient wizard. Like, to me, it's like, oh, he's just wearing like some LED like costume. Like this, it didn't seem to anchor him into the mysticism of being a wizard. He just kind of looked like some sort of cult leader.
Well,
Go ahead.
Do you notice that they actually filmed the trailer scenes separately from the ones that they used in the movie, because you never see his face at all in the trailers?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He looked more disheveled. So in this one, it looked more like a fake wig.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, luckily he died pretty quickly, so I didn't get to see his like really goofy kind of getup.
They really stole that Infinity War effect, didn't they?
Oh yeah, turning into ash and floating away. So yeah, some inconsistencies there, but I had a fun time. I'm glad it's out of the way. Like I said at the very beginning, I'm just kind of tired of the origin movie. Even like with Captain Marvel, not comparing or pitting the two against each other at all. It's just like, there's just like so much of the same we always have to go through with every origin movie. You kind of get to know the character. They're kind of learning their powers. We're learning their past a little bit. It's just like, just get to it. That's why I liked Spider-Man: Homecoming so much, just because he was already at it. He was already doing it. They backdoored pilot They did a backdoor pilot for Spider-Man and like Civil War.
It's easy because we've had a million Spider-Man stuff. I mean, how do you sell Shazam to somebody?
Oh yeah, I totally get it. There's really no easy solution, so I'm just kind of glad it's out of the way.
Hey kid, touch this old wizard's magic stick and you get powers. No, that doesn't sound good, does it? So explain a film plot badly. That's what I'm going to tell everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
But I agree. Under a microscope, when you nitpick, it doesn't hold up. But like, it's still a fun movie, and I'm glad I got to see it early. Like, I'm much happier than I anticipated being when I sit down in the theater to watch this.
Mm-hmm. And I think we got like a free comic book. It wasn't physical. I'm guessing there's a code out there, maybe from Fandango, that I have, because because it was like a fan event. I was supposed to get some for free and I didn't. That's all I know.
Well, I got the actual issue number 1 of Shazam at Comic-Con. They were DC was giving out this exact book that this is based on.
Oh, sick!
So I actually got to pick one of those up. And also Shazam's name used to be Captain Marvel in the comic books. I don't know if you knew that as well. So when
I knew
you got to tell someone you want to watch Captain Marvel this weekend, you got to be very careful about which one you say. So
there is a really crazy deep dive video that Movie Bob, this guy on YouTube, put together. He's like this dude, like I think straight out of the Bronx or Philadelphia. He's got this super thick accent. And he kind of makes like these kind of like punk videos, but he made this really long explainer video of Shazam, Captain Marvel, and what was like the other character, the original character that spawned out of all these that turned into something else. He got like I don't even remember his name, but there's like a third character involved in all of the IP madness. Yeah, just go Google like Captain Marvel and Movie Bob, and he has like this whole explainer. There's so much into it. It's actually just really crazy to like to see the legalese of it all. You know?
The history of this character. He's been around since before Superman, or literally the same time as Superman. Mm-hmm. So like this is just wild that we're now getting to it. So
the ancient champion.
Yeah. So. There we go. So Shazam. So yeah, that's it. You're gonna see it in 2 weeks when it comes out regularly. Actually, we will be our next spoiler filled review will be Hellboy.
Yeah, that's right.
Tickets are now on sale. So yeah, I got nothing else. Mike, you got anything else?
No, it was great. It was a fun time. Go check it out.
Yep, I agree. Mike, if people want to know what you're up to and other movies you may be watching, where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. I'm actually drafting up the next comic for Pickled Comics, so keep a lookout. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Chris, if people want to check out the little craziness that you've been up to all weekend, it is very, very late your time over in the East Coast time zone. You've been at it. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN, or head over to Instagram, Valdan87. You can recap some of my C2E2 stuff and Chicago Adventure there. You can also head over to Comic UI. Mike, if people want to know everything else we do, where we find our regularly weekly hosted news show, which we're going to record here in just a minute, where can they find that at?
As always, please visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show. And if we're talking about the news in a news segment, we have awesome show notes there, too. So if we're talking about a trailer and you want to link to that, just head on over to the website. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Let us know your thoughts on Shazam. Did you get to see it 2 weeks earlier? Reach out, let us know. We want to hear from you. What did you think about the flick? We love our super fans here at the Superhero Slate, and if you want to be a super fan like everybody else, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week. Usually I say sometimes we'll be here twice, but 3 times this week. Go listen to that renegade punk guerrilla style podcasting that Chris uploaded directly from Comic-Con right off the cuff of Shazam. It's the closest thing we're probably ever going to get to like a reaction video.
Yeah.
So go check it out. Kind of enjoy the nerdiness of what it's like to go to a comic book convention. So there you go. Let's jump into the news, Chris.
Yeah. Just again, I want to thank everyone who recorded that with me. Brian, Adam, Greg, Roberto, and then Kate, who sat silently in the chair beside us because she didn't know to be on the podcast. So thank you guys, and we'll catch you in the news show.
All right. Adios.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
I went to Box Office Mojo because I'm an idiot. You just told me not to.